Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. Welcome back to Sunday morning and the Old Cookbook Show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this cookbook, the Rumford Complete Cookbook. Now, over here I've got a bunch of Rumford cookbooks, all from different years, written by different people. Lily Haxworth Wallace wrote this one, and she wrote also this one. And she consulted on this one, but she had nothing to do with this other one right here. And as much as she wrote this book, you can also tell that a lot of the recipes in here were written by other people, and she just sort of was the editor who brought it all together. Now, this book itself is from 1918, published by the Rumford Chemical Works, Providence, Rhode Island. I absolutely love this copy. One of the interesting things about how cookbooks have changed over the years is that in this time period, a lot of empty pages were left inside cookbooks, and they had headings at the top called memoranda or notes or your recipes. And what the cookbook publisher was encouraging you to do was add your own recipes to the book. Take notes, make changes. If you saw a recipe in here that you made and it didn't quite work out for you, but you tried it again with some different ingredients, they wanted you to write that down. They weren't telling you that this was the only way to do something. They were saying, here's a suggestion. What do you think? And you can kind of see that in later versions of the same book, the recipe starts to change a little bit. And then you see when it's written by a different writer, the recipes are completely different. Same titles, completely different. And to that end, this book is one of my favorites because pretty much every page that was left blank called memoranda, the owner of this book in the 1920s has clipped out newspaper recipes and glued them inside this book. This book is chock-a-block with newspaper recipes that are glued inside. Probably their favorites, recipes that they've tried. There are some handwritten ones where I guess they've gotten recipes from someone down at the church or where they worked or wherever. Love this book. And today we're going to do a recipe against my better judgment called Southern Egg Bread. And I want to kind of take this recipe, and as we make it, I'm going to talk about it because I've got other recipe books open here that will kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. So, Southern egg bread. We're going to start with some white cornmeal. I'm only going to make half of this recipe because I don't need a whole pan of egg bread. So, that's white cornmeal. That's what it calls for, white cornmeal. Of course, baking powder. It is the Rumford Chemical Works after all. And some salt. And I'll just give that a little bit of a whisk to bring them together. Okay, so I've got all these books open in front of me. They all have recipes for egg bread, and I've got recipes in Southern cookbooks, books published in the South, or what is considered the American South, going back to the early 1800s. They all pretty much have a recipe called egg bread. Okay, so next we've got some milk, and I'm going to crack 2 eggs into the milk. And we will whisk that together. And we'll spill. It'll be okay. And we're supposed to put in shortening. Which book am I working from? Which book am I? This book. It calls for a tablespoon of melted shortening. And the book at the beginning tells you that shortening in this book, in this context, they want you to use butter. But any fat that's solid at room temperature is shortening, and you can use that if you need to, if you don't have butter. So I've got melted butter. I'm going to mix that in with the egg and the milk. I find doing it this way just gives me a better mixture. Next up, we mix these together, and this particular egg bread recipe is an outlier because it calls for boiled rice. None of the other recipes call for boiled rice. And the Rumford recipe books are the only ones that I can see that called for boiled rice. So we'll get this mixed together. So does your family have a recipe for egg bread? And where in the South are you located? I'd be interested to know what people see as the variation in egg bread. The books here from Rumford that Lily had her fingerprints all over carry exactly the same recipe. This book from Rumford, and I can't seem to find a date for it anywhere, is not written by Lily. It's written by Mary A. Wilson. Her recipe for Southern egg bread is pretty much completely different. I mean, it has cornmeal, it has eggs, it has milk, but it has a higher proportion of milk than this recipe does. It also has boiling water. So you're pre-cooking the the cornmeal before you put it all together. And it has a lot more fat. This is the Tennessee cookbook, and it is from 1912. So kind of the same time period as this book from Rumford. And the egg bread recipe in this book just says make the same as meal muffins and bake in a greased pan. And so the cornmeal muffins are 2 beaten eggs, a pint of buttermilk, 3/4 of a pint of meal, 3 tablespoons of melted lard, 1 teaspoon of soda, sugar, and salt. So you can see that's a little bit different again. And so I've got a greased tin, and in goes our mixture. So I'm supposed to bake this for half an hour in a hot oven. And the oven in the studio today has a brisket slow braising, and it's set at 250, not hot enough. So I'm going to put this in the oven inside my house. Hey, Jules.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, friends. What have we got? You're not fooling me with another savory, looks like it could be sweet dish, are you?
I don't know.
And we haven't actually addressed this over
We're not
here
going, that is not for yet.
Not for yet?
Not
Do
for
I need
yet.
a fork, or is this like it looks like a cake? I could...
It is called Southern egg bread.
Okay.
But the farther back you go in Southern cookbooks, it's just called egg bread.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling it's going to taste a lot like cornbread.
Not quite. It was a missing corn flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But it has the same kind of texture. Mm-hmm. It's got a quirky crunch on the top.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of digging that. It's not dry at all, is it?
No, but it needs butter.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that cornbread is complemented by butter, or... Okay, so what's in it?
So this is a this is a wild card.
Egg.
There's egg. Not that recipe. Which recipe is it? Cornmeal, salt, baking powder,
So there's
eggs.
cornmeal in it.
Yes. Oh, wait. You haven't got to the last ingredient. Rice.
Okay, so that's why it doesn't have the giant corn flavor that
Yeah.
regular cornbread has. But a hint of it. It'd be ideal for anyone who doesn't like that flavor in the cornbread.
If you don't like cornbread, have egg bread. You could do this. I mean, there's so many regional variations. I want to know about your regional variation. Be nice. Please be nice. But tell me about your regional variation or your family variation of something called egg bread.
There you go.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.